But for real, as we were talking, the starting pitching has really helped mask them. They've gotten them to David Bednar and Holderman, which has been like the high point. But I want to talk. Well, first off, let's talk and give David Bednar like his flowers right now because we kind of gloss over him at every start. But let's also talk a little bit about this depth. And if you squint hard enough, if you feel like there's something there.
Yeah, let's definitely start with David Bednar. He was just simply outstanding for the month of April. 13 appearances, 9 saves, 13 innings. So he just went 1 inning every appearance. 17 strikeouts. He's got a .69 earned run average, and then also a nice .69 whip to go along with it. You look at his baseball savant page, and it's just nothing but red everywhere. His percentile rankings all in red. He is basically, you could make an argument right now that he's the best closer in the National League. You can make an argument he's the best closer in baseball. I don't know. I don't know if that's necessarily true, but the numbers are there that you could make the argument.
For sure. Absolutely. For sure. Like you said, he's nuts. It's just absolutely nuts what he's doing right now. You kind of came in wondering and worried after last year how David Bednar would look. There wasn't a whole lot of spring. There's a lot of WBC he was part of. He looks better than ever right now. It's unbelievable. He comes in, game over.
Yeah, just on the Pirates staff alone, he leads the team in WAR. I want to say he actually leads all relief pitchers in baseball in WAR, and yes, he does. So, yeah, just the guy's been absolutely incredible. He's walking less than a batter per 9 innings. He's striking out people at an excellent clip. You mention it all the time, his fastball, if you want to kind of get into that, but it's basically been unhittable, up to this point in the season. The guy, it's nice to see because I think he was definitely a question mark going into the year. You kind of saw him break down a little bit last year. He got hurt. He did the World Baseball Classic thing, so we didn't really see him a whole lot in spring training, and I think he only got in a couple games there in the WBC. So it was like, okay, well, what David Bednar are we going to see? Are we going to see the dominant David Bednar? Are we going to see the okay one? Are we going to see the one that doesn't really look that good? And we are seeing the dominant David Bednar right now. And it's just every time he goes in the game, it's just on lockdown. He's not even allowing base runners. It's just 1, 2, 3, 9th inning every time.
And I feel like when he is, it's some stupid bloop. It's some very, very light hit contact, some bloop that goes out there and there's a base runner. Yeah, it's unreal. And like you're saying, getting back to the actual pitches, the 24th best pitch in baseball, his four-seamer, is ranked at -5 runs, which again, negative is good. The best pitch in baseball is Garrett Cole's four-seamer at -10. Garrett Cole's thrown it 333 times. David Bednar has thrown it 101. To also put that in perspective. If he continues his pace and threw as much as Garrett Cole, you would figure it'd be valued at -15 runs. That's what I'm getting at, right? So that's how good this has been.
Yeah, it's technically the 4th best fastball in baseball.
Yes, you took my next point. But yeah, it is. It's the 4th best four-seam. And this is listen, this is the batting average. This is the slash. People are hitting .038 against his four-seamer. This is the four-seamer. This isn't a slider. This isn't a curveball, right? This is a four-seam fastball. .038 batting average. .077 slugging. That's ridiculous.
That is ridiculous. And the expected stats really aren't too far off that. So it's one of those deals where he's getting really, really good results. But then, you look at the batted ball numbers and it's it's legit. Like the fastball is legit. From what I can tell, he's the only pitcher on this entire list from these top 20 guys on here where the expected batting average of his fastball is below 100. So yeah, the guy's just absolutely dominant right now. His name deserves to be right up there with any closer in baseball.
Yeah, 100%. And like the next point I want to get to this too is he throws the fastball almost 60% of the time. Again, he is just dominating hitters right now. He is throwing a fastball and no one can touch it. And he's saying, and I'm going to throw you another fastball and I know you're not going to touch it. And they can't. They cannot. And it's like, again, like it's crazy. Like his other stuff is also good. Like his curveball is good. His split finger by the numbers are, it's whatever, but he throws it only 15% of the time. Like his curveball is also really good, but his fastball just dominates hitters. And like they know it's coming. Like this is where we're at again. The Pirates seem to always find some dominant closer, even in their bad years. And David Bednar kind of proved that last year. Of course, his usage, I feel like, made him kind of fall apart later, and that's why he didn't have the greatest season. But he's coming in here, like you said, the biggest takeaway, too, is 1 inning every outing. Yes, he's thrown 13 innings, but it's been 13 games. It's not coming here going 2, going 3, right? We don't need this stupid usage of David Bednar. Like, he's in the role he needs to be in, and he is completely dominating in it.
Yeah, I mean, he hasn't been called upon once to do one of those 4, 5, 6, 7 out saves,
right,
like we saw the past couple of years. So, yeah, I mean, they're pitching him an inning at a time. They're giving him the rest that he needs, and when he's coming in, just overpowering hitters.
42% whiff rate on his 4-seam, 40% whiff rate on the curveball, 53% on the split finger. No one can literally touch David Bednar right now.
Yeah, the exit.
This is ridiculous.
And when they do make contact, average exit velocity is 84.3%, which puts him in the 95th percentile among pitches when it comes to average exit velo. So, yeah, I mean, it's really nice to see because, like I said, he was definitely a guy coming in where I don't think you were like worried, but you were like, is David Bednar really good or is he just good? Like
just a guy.
So far, he's been really good.
Right. So let's spin this. So, of course, we know how good David Bednar is. But, again, he's part of that bullpen, and we talked the bullpen just needs to get to Hordeman, needs to get to Bednar. You're not going to have that consistently through a whole year to be successful. You're going to have some depth. You're going to have some other guys pitch to give you some quality innings and such. So, let's talk about the rest. I talked a little bit about Jose Hernandez and Robert Stevenson yesterday on the postgame, just because my take on this is if you squint, you don't have to squint that hard anymore, I feel like. If you squint hard enough, you're starting to see some quality pitchers in this bullpen now. Again, we already talked about those 2, but who's there to help bridge the gap? Jose Hernandez is pitching very, very well. 11.2 innings, 0.077 ERA. I'm not saying he's untouchable like David Bednar by any means, but only 8 hits, I believe, right? 11 strikeouts, 1 walk. He looks good. Not just like I'm a Rule 5 lefty. Let me be put in good situations that are, in benefit of me. Let me hide, let's hide Jose Hernandez. He's been put into more situations lately that are higher leverage, and he's getting the job done. The job done well.
Yeah. I mean, he looks like he belongs. That's kind of the big thing. And that's not always the case with Rule 5 picks. The Pirates have had multiple Rule 5 picks over the last few decades that I can remember. And yeah, like they were on the roster because they wanted to keep them down the road. Like that was kind of the plan, right? I like Donnie Veal kind of comes to mind where it's like they drafted that guy, huge stuff, projectable. And they couldn't get him into baseball games because he just simply wasn't good enough, but they had to figure out a way to keep him on the roster the entire year. This doesn't seem to be the case with Jose Hernandez. I mean, one, he's the only lefty left in that bullpen after Zastryzny goes down. So
Right.
He's kind of forced to have to belong. Like they have to use him because there's no other lefty options in there.
Also, just to interject here, Will Crow on the 60-day DL. We talk about his reverse splits. Even though he's not a lefty, he fares well. Like he's on the 60-day IL too, so he's gone.
Yeah, so like Hernandez is the guy, and the stuff looks good. I was a little concerned, after spring training because he got shelled pretty hard during spring, but we haven't seen that since he's come in. Yeah, I mean he's already pitched 11 2/3 innings. He's given up just one run. The guy absolutely is showing like he belongs, and the biggest part of it is he's throwing strikes. He's throwing strikes. The stuff is good enough that because he's throwing strikes, he's getting outs. That's kind of the key there, and I think that's kind of what we want to look at going forward with him is just can he continue to throw strikes? Because I think as long as he's going to do that, that limits the amount of base runners, just makes things a whole lot easier. Because that was always it wasn't necessarily an issue in the minors, but the strikeout numbers were always there, but the walks. Just looking back last year, over 4 walks per 9 in AA, over 5 walks per 9 in high A the year before. So he's now gotten that number down significantly, and it's making a difference.
Right. You're correct. That's the biggest takeaway in my mind too. 11 strikeouts, 1 walk. This is your typical, thinking back to the day, like Neil Huntington. Right, this is your project reliever that you're going to bring in who just walks everyone, and Neil Huntington brings him in, and it's like that's gone now. That's what's happening right now. He's not walking anybody. He's had stuff, but that was a big issue, and the home runs was a big issue too, especially last year. All that's gone. I'm not saying it's eliminated and won't come back, but so far what we see, that's what's fixed, and that's what's helping him become this good pitcher right now. So again, like everything that I see right now, so far I'm looking at Jose Hernandez like, you know what, you're not just this Rule 5. I need to hide you, lefty. He looks like he could be a big part of his bullpen now. And let's get him into some 6th, 7th inning situations, So that's why I'm looking at him right now and saying, okay, he's adding some depth maybe to his bullpen. The next guy is Robert Stevenson. He's coming off the IL. I know it's even smaller sample for him, but so far what you're seeing from Robert Stevenson in his 6 innings so far in 8 games, 0 ERA. Right, the FIP's 188, but he looks good too. And if we're talking about pitches, right, his slider is up there already. It's already valued at -4 runs. His slider is. The way I'm kind of looking at Stevenson, and I'm not going to say back me up on this, but Stevenson's reminding me of good Kyle Crick, if that makes sense. Now the slider's maybe not as deadly as Kyle Crick's.
Doesn't move quite as much.
That was a weapon. His spin rate's 2970 on it. It's Kyle Crick's like 3,400 at times. But very, very slider heavy. He's thrown at 76% of the time. His 4-seamer only 20, but it's heavy slider. But that slider's so good that guys just can't hit it so far. I'm looking at Stevenson too and thinking, like, you know what? I think he's good.
Well, the slider is good, and it's not something like that. That's not new this year. Like the slider has always been good his entire career. So the fact that he's just throwing it more now. So and I think that's what we're seeing with a lot of guys on this pitching staff is they're throwing their best pitch the most, and it's. We talked about this last year with a few people. It's just this crazy concept where, hey, do what you do well. And what Stevenson does well is his slider. What Bednar does well is his fastball. So like what your strength is as a pitcher, lean on it. And they're doing that really across the entire pitching staff. Like I said, that slider is his best pitch. So what's he doing? He's throwing at 76% of the time. You throw your best pitch that often, And it doesn't really matter. Like if it's a good pitch and you throw it that much, you're going to get good results. Like
especially if
plain
it's
and
like you
simple.
said, a good pitch.
Yeah.
And this one's really good.
And so you're seeing that really across the pitching staff. You know, you're seeing it with like Velasquez and his slider. You're seeing it with Oviedo and his slider. You're seeing it with Bednar and his fastball. You're seeing it with Stevenson and his slider. So like all these guys who
Ronesy.
have, yeah, Ronesy too and his slider. So you're seeing this with these pitchers who have a weapon. They are utilizing those weapons, and they're utilizing as often as they can, and it's producing good results across the board, really.
So as we wrap this up, bullpen, good.
I'm not ready to like say that because the bullpen still is being helped a ton by the starting pitching. The fact that everybody is pitching when they're supposed to, they're not being overworked. I'm curious. Like, I mean, if the starting pitching is able to keep up in pitch innings, you know, that's kind of the big thing right now. If the starting pitching can go 6 innings every day, then yeah, the bullpen's good. Every bullpen's going to be good if that's the case. When we see really how good it is you know, when games like yesterday happen, and when games like yesterday are going to happen, like pitchers are going to not be able to get out of the third inning. The difference now is, you know, the Pirates, that's happening like once every 3 weeks right now. When that starts happening like once a week, you know, how does that affect the bullpen, right?
Sure.
And because that is going to happen once a week. Like it just happens. Like starting pitchers have bad outings, no matter how many good ones you have. So when that becomes a more, not necessarily a consistent thing, but a thing that happens every now and then, is this bullpen going to be able to hold up? And so I'm not ready to like slap the good label on this bullpen, but they are being called upon in the spots that they are being called upon right now, and it's just working out perfect.
Completely fair.
Hey, you all, thank you for watching. I know we try to provide the most entertaining content that we can, and we'd love to spread it to as many people as possible. So I know it doesn't seem like a lot, but if you could take the 5 seconds to like this video and subscribe to the page, it helps out so much more than you know. Thank you, and let's go Bucks.